This is the Philanthropy Show, connecting and inspiring philanthropy.
Welcome to the Philanthropy Show. I'm your host, Luann Saraga Walters. We all know that more money means more mission. But how do you get more money without going back and back and back and forth and forth and forth? That hamster wheel that we talk about, trying to fundraise, have events. Well, there is a new buzz. It's not really that new, but more and more people are hearing about it. We've got an expert on the show today who teaches it. We've got two people who, in their nonprofit, have really excelled at making it happen for their organization. And I'm very excited to present this show on the social enterprise earned income model that will help your nonprofit organization. So I'm going to get right into our fabulous guests, welcoming from the far right over here, or the far left for the camera, Tom and Judith and Cindy. And before I greet you officially, I just want to read a little bit about their bios, because this is some extensive experience right here in this room. And thank you guys for coming on to share it.
Thank you for inviting us.
So Cindy, who's to my right, is the owner of GW Group. She's I'm proud to call a friend and also a colleague through the Nonprofit Consultants Connection, but she's been working in the nonprofit world for over 20 years as a consultant, a trainer, an advisor, and really specializing in grant writing and helping those nonprofits find that earned income through social enterprise models. We have to her right, flip my page over, Judith DeStasio.
Yes.
The CFO, Chief Financial Officer of MacDonald Training Center. And Judith, this is really kind of her baby. She spearheaded the Business Enterprise Initiative at MacDonald Training Center, and she's the driving force behind the movement. So she's taken it from the traditional sheltered workshop concept of an inferior workplace, really, and often careless, even low-quality standards, and you've brought in some amazing skill sets.
Yes.
By putting this, what they call a business enterprise team together. She and Tom, who is her production manager, Tom Moylan at MacDonald Training Center, who since 2001 has been an instrumental force in the organization's increase in business. And get this, increased annual sales revenue 300% and reduced organizational reliance on government funding. Let me say that again, reliance on government funding, yes, by 35%. Amazing. What you two have done has really, I'm sure, transformed MacDonald Training Center, and that's what we want to really talk about today. So let me start, welcome.
Thank you.
Great to have you guys here. But Cindy, tell me a little bit briefly about what the social enterprise model looks like, what it does, why people are talking about it, and how it affects nonprofits, basically.
Social enterprise, when embraced and as part of the culture of an organization, transforms the way they operate, transforms their revenue stream, its diversity, and it's a focus on utilizing your assets that you have, what you do great, who you know, what you know, and actually what you give away now, and earn unrestricted revenue. It's a fee for service, providing services, selling a product.
Which, this is what's interesting about this concept, and when we come over to you, because I'm sure that there are a lot of nonprofits going, gosh, I have a service, how do I put a fee to it? Gosh, I can't even think of a product I could sell for my service. So, Judith, a little bit about MacDonald Training Center. What do you do at MacDonald Training Center?
We provide a variety of services to adults with disabilities, primarily intellectual disabilities, but also others. We provide training, and probably the key focus from our perspective is that training that will lead to employment in the community. So that was where our initiative of being able to come up with a concept that would provide effective training that would be transferable into employable skills was critical. Mm-hmm. And that's what we were really lacking. We also provide other services as well, supported living, transportation, obviously employment services. So there's a variety of things that we do at MacDonald Training Center.
Wow, and let me get a little bit about your background before moving over to Tom too. So you're the CFO there now, and how did you become involved with MacDonald Training Center and the nonprofit community?
It was accidental.
Yeah.
I came out of the for-profit world. I actually owned a couple of small businesses, but I had gotten into accounting and worked in a few different industries. And although I enjoyed it, when I considered this opportunity with MacDonald Training Center, I was a little worried about going into nonprofit accounting because I'd never done it. But I was so driven by the passion and the mission that it's going on 12 years that I've been there. So,
Oh, that's great.
You kind of
And
fall in love with it.
that caught me in reading through about your history too, is that having been a small business owner and having worked for large corporations and now coming into a nonprofit, you have a familiarity and acquaintanceship with certain business structures
Yes.
that have also probably helped in lending what you two have been able to do. So, Tom, tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you come to MacDonald Training Center, and what do you do as the product manager there?
I run our production facilities. We have one just on Cypress Street. It's our major location, and then we also have one in Plant City. And it's just managing all of the projects and contracts that we have. I mean, our biggest is SunPass Packaging for the state of Florida. So we package all of the transponders.
So are you working specifically with the social enterprise vein at MacDonald Training Center? Okay.
Yes, ma'am, I do. I'm involved in a lot of the different teams. We have a business service team, which is a cross-functional team, which includes the community services, the employment coaches, our financial team, myself, a couple of other project managers on the business enterprise team. And that's how we are involved with the service delivery.
It's interesting because your social enterprise, your business enterprise has gotten so big that you need somebody to oversee that.
And our team has actually grown, that we have additional project managers specifically to certain projects.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So let me back up too, because I know, Cindy, you've been working with nonprofits for over 20 years. How did you initially come into contact with nonprofits, and why become a consultant and a trainer and such an advocate?
Started out as a volunteer in United Way. Fell in love working with nonprofits, and I knew at some point in my life that's what I wanted to do. I was in corporate America. So that was it. I wanted to work with nonprofits, started my consulting business, and never looked back.
So from your corporate America backgrounds, do you see, describe this, because I think there are a lot of people who are from corporate America. I'm one who then fell in love, like the passion, the heartfelt reason for working in a nonprofit. It doesn't necessarily equal the pay you might make at a corporation, but there's a reward in a different way.
Exactly.
And so from that background of corporate America, how does the model of social enterprise enhance a nonprofit? In other words, why would somebody watching this show who may think, I can't do it, be encouraged to take a look at it?
Oh, I'd like a stab at that if I can. I think it raises the credibility and the standards, because nonprofits have traditionally had a reputation of doing good work, but doing it which is what we faced. We had a reputation of doing kind of not such good quality. Our pricing was okay. We couldn't get it done on time usually. So when you start thinking about it like a business and you say, how would a business run it? Well, number one, we have to make profit. If we can't make a profit, we're not going to do it. So that's a big shift in the thinking to get to that
That's interesting,
point.
because if you're not making a profit, then it's eating out of your nonprofit's budget.
Exactly.
And the whole point of having that social enterprise is to make a profit so that becomes the earned income. Is that correct, Cindy?
Right, and I want to make a couple of points, is that some nonprofits think because they have a 501c3, they cannot make a profit. That is totally untrue. Your 501c3 is your tax exempt status, not your business plan. So they can, that's a hindrance for sure.
Maybe, because there's that not-for-profit or non-profit. And I think non-profit means, we've got to be in the hole, always asking for money. That's not it.
No, that's not it at all. It's not. And also from MacDonald's Training Center perspective, and all nonprofits, is your nonprofit, your mission will get you in the door, but if you don't deliver, you're not going to be successful in your earned income venture.
Yes.
One thing I wanted to bring up also is that success is contingent upon the nonprofit's leader and embracing the culture of earning money, and you all just, what you just explained about your team, huge. Huge.
I love that you said that because I heard you say that at the beginning. And I think that that's significant because in reading this business enterprise team bio, I think it was in 2001, you really wanted to start with the business enterprise team, but it was in 2006 you received training at the National Center for Social Enterprises through the Children's Board, Hillsborough County. And I think before the show you said Cindy was the teacher
Yes.
on that, the instructor for it. But that's when it really became pervasive and
Yes.
in giving you the tools and really throughout the culture. Do people within the office, speaking of the culture, understand the significance of what Tom is doing and how it's benefiting the drive for the mission? The people who are working strictly for the mission, embracing that business model.
That's a hard one to answer. I would say some do. I think some people really get it. I think there's some that really don't understand it. I don't think, it's sort of like the financials, and I'm flip over to the CFO side.
Sure.
It's like trying to get people to read the financial statements and understand them. They don't really want to. So there's always going to be that element, but they do understand this has changed a lot of things. Now, we were just having the discussion this morning. We had a lot of people when we started doing these things that left the organization because they didn't agree with what we were doing. So it's
And
not
is that
culturally,
because-
it's not
yeah.
always going to be accepted.
You know, I can see where there might be some stickiness to it because, Tom, here you're trying to run a business, and the whole concept of being a nonprofit is almost the antithesis of that, to say, no, we're not supposed to be doing a business. So tell me a little bit about what you do on a daily basis and how you come together with this. And we're going to get to a little bit later on the great idea that you had with SunPass. But for now, what is it that you're doing at MacDonald Training Center?
Well, it's just a daily process of coordinating with our training. I mean, we've had a major change in the way we train recently we started a new training service, advanced job skills, that really focuses on things, the training aspect and getting people out the door. I think we'll talk about that a little bit later, hopefully. But it's just coordinating all that. When all of a sudden the folks that we had doing a certain project are going to a class or going out in the community to learn how to ride the bus or learn, access some community program out there. When just trying to fill in those spots and make sure that we get everything done. So there's always a production quota that we try to get to every day, but sometimes we just need to, coordinate and work through it. But
Here's the synthesis that you two have created with this and your team, the business enterprise team, is that your goal is to help folks. Tell me your mission again.
To empower people with disabilities to lead the lives that they choose.
And they get that empowerment by being able to be trained to do something so that then they can go further and get jobs in the community, et cetera.
Right.
And you're providing them that hands-on job opportunity.
Exactly.
And at the same time, you're answering contracts that are needed by, I'm guessing, SunPass's state level, that are then paying your organization as well. They're earning this whole thing just really hits all these different points. So I want to dive into your SunPass in just a second, but it's already time for break number 1. See how fast these segments go. Isn't that amazing? We're going to take a quick break on the Philanthropy Show, but we'll be right back after the word from our sponsors.
This show sponsored in part by
My Paper Pusher. Consider it done.
Hello, I'm Samantha Abraham, CEO of My Paper Pusher, with your financial tip of the week. To prevent financial fraud, you must remove one of the 3 elements of the fraud triangle. The easiest element for management to remove is opportunity by creating effective internal controls. Do a background check for those in financial roles. Separate the duties. For example, the person who opens the mail should not be the same person who records payments, deposits checks, and reconciles the bank account. Reconcile the bank accounts on a regular basis. Your bank statement should be delivered to management unopened. Require regular vacation, job rotation, or surprise work review. Create procedures to handle cash, signature stamps, and checks. Review your vendor listing to make sure that there are no unusual or unknown vendors. Use unique logins and passwords on computers and for online banking access. It is the responsibility of management to limit the opportunities for fraud. Start today by implementing these simple internal controls. I'm Samantha Abraham with My Paper Pusher, where you can consider it done.
Follow The Philanthropy Show on Facebook for behind-the-scenes action, polls, and commentary.
Welcome back to the Philanthropy Show. Talking today with the MacDonald Training Center. We have Tom and we have Judith, and then also Cindy Kane, who is an instructor with nonprofits teaching not only grant writing but social enterprise. And this show is about social enterprise, earned income, and how to do that. Before the break, we were kind of diving a little bit into the need that your nonprofit really has to have a culture of acceptance for this business model, because it is a business model, and you're actually creating a business as well as running your nonprofit and fulfilling its mission. And Cindy, you were talking about the cultural awareness that it has to be a full staff awareness, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and volunteers, board members sometimes
Board members,
can
absolutely.
say they're not into that. This is not why we joined a board. We didn't join a board to earn money. It was all about the mission. So besides staff, it's also your board volunteers.
Sure. Let's talk about what you two have developed. And Tom, lead me on this, because I know you're really kind of the owner of this SunPass package.
Wait a
and
minute.
a couple of others. I was like, wait, I don't know if I want to do that.
Hold on a minute. Go ahead.
So tell me about that. How does that work?
Well, I mean, basically, SunPass has really just changed everything we've done, because it's done so many things for us. I mean,
Let me pause you for just 1 second. So SunPass is the transponder we have. It's the tollway in Florida, because we're an internet show. So you stick it in your car windshield. You all have them too in your different states, different tollway passes that you have. And it's a transponder. And what MacDonald Training Center does is package those transponders for all of SunPass, for all orders?
for all
Okay.
everything that's sold in the retail stores like Publix, CVS, Walgreens, we package all of those.
Okay.
If you call SunPass directly and ask for one, we don't do those, but that's a very small number. Right now, we package probably 1.2 to 1.4 million a year
Wow.
that we ship.
Wow.
But yeah, it really has changed everything that we do. I mean, what it does is brings in the revenue, which is really important, because it lets you think about all those other things you can do for the mission, because you're not worrying about the money anymore. But what it provided for us is that continual work. One thing about working with individuals in our population is, before we got the continual work, we would get a job in, we'd work on it for a little bit, we'd get good at it, and then it'd go away. So we were continually training on the task. With continual training opportunities on SunPass, all of a sudden we could focus on the soft skills, how to work with an employer, how to show up on time. All those things get people
That's
fired.
awesome. So they're actually getting, it's like an internship. It's like, a college student being able to have a real life job and to get the experience in it, as opposed to just a project at a time.
Right.
They also get paid, right?
Yes.
They also
Yeah.
get paid. Now, I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit, because this job just didn't land in your lap. You all had to earn it.
Yeah,
And now
Tom.
keep
That's
it.
true.
Come on.
Remember?
We're gonna
Way
pull it
back?
out of ya.
Way back.
Oh, I do remember.
Yeah, I remember you guys too.
I remember a lot about that. But yes, well, the first thing we had to do, I mean, we heard about it, a friend of the organization.
You were seeking opportunities that met certain parameters that were large enough to keep you right, to keep you working on a continual basis.
Yes.
That was because you just talked about having done projects. What were some of the other parameters? So if you're looking at a social enterprise, you're wanting to define those parameters, right? How is that going to tie into our mission, and how are we going to be able to craft it?
Well, it's got to be worth going for too. I mean, don't go into a earned income strategy that's going to earn you $1.50. It has to have an impact.
And we had developed fairly quickly, I think, primarily Judith, our litmus test, which I think maybe now would be a good time to talk about
What was
that.
your litmus test?
Well, in looking at trying to decide, because you want to make sure you're staying in lines with mission. So when we look at a project, we test it and we say, is it good for the organization? Is it good for the people that we serve? And does it make sense? Like, does it make sense, but also does it make money sense? If it passed all those criteria, then we take a second look. We looked at a lot of things we didn't do. There were a lot of funny things, and he and I have many samples and funny stories about things that we rejected. But we needed to make sure that it stayed in those parameters. And again, and this goes back to what Cindy was saying about the board, like for SunPass, we needed a lot of startup money. It took about $450,000 to get started with SunPass, to set up, get all the equipment, do all the things we needed to do. When we went to our board, we had a board that had never really heard the word profit. So I had to be coached in presenting it to say contribution, net contribution, using words in a way that it wouldn't, we're going to subsidize the shortfall, but don't use the word profit. When you go to the
different
board,
language.
now the board embraces what we're doing. They understand it.
They want profit because they understand that profit is money towards your mission.
Exactly. But that was that cultural change of getting to that point. And we also had to earn their confidence about what we were doing and that where we're doing the litmus test. Because if we've got mission drift, that's a problem. And we needed to make sure we were going to make money. I mean, it had to fit in all those categories.
But didn't they start getting it when government funding was going down for your...
They wanted it, but when you walk in and ask for that much money, because a portion of it was funded through United Way, and then we asked for $250,000 to be loaned to us out of our foundation,
Wow.
which we paid back ahead of schedule. And they didn't forget that.
Yeah.
That was a good thing.
So does having a social enterprise model, in addition to your nonprofit model, you're talking about the word profit, and it makes me think of things like we talked about in break, clients versus customers. I mean, there's a whole new languaging that you're having to really grasp in. So speak to that. I think, Cindy, you had been talking about it in break.
Yeah, there's a whole different mindset with words too. So profit, you could say unrestricted revenue would be a different way to say it. The money that you generate, which is net income, is unrestricted revenue to use whatever grants don't allow, like give people raises, fix the air conditioner, new carpeting or furniture and all that. Also, the difference is clients versus customers, different mindset. Some staff in the groups that I have trained think, oh, we can't charge our clients for services. That's not your customer. Your customers are those that can afford to pay, like the state of Florida Department of Transportation. So
Or if you weren't making a transponder, maybe you were making a widget of some kind, and your customer wants that widget. They're a customer. They're not a client. See, that's what I'm saying. You've got two things going. It's like the wheels of a car or something. I don't know enough about cars to be automotively linguistic, but you know what I'm saying. One is feeding the other, and at the same time, the other is also feeding the one because that's your workforce. So it's fabulous how it's just going with that. Tom, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I think, most of our earned income goes to our services because it was so many reductions. So now most of what we earn goes into paying for our services, and I think that creates more ownership because all of a sudden our money is going to pay for our service, and so we're looking at it that we want the best. If we're going to buy it, it should be really good. And so I think that's really one of the things that made our programs better, that we want to go and make them as good as we possibly can.
And that's also a philosophy that you're teaching to those folks who are training your clients, to get the correct word. They're learning that as well, doing the best with my skills that I can, which is also another layer of that. I love that. That's fabulous. How has this helped you? How has this helped MacDonald Training Center by having this business enterprise team and the solutions
Obviously,
in place?
the earned income is much needed, and we've gone through close to 40% funding cuts over the years that we've been in existence. So we're helping to subsidize that.
Yeah, that's a lot to lose.
It is a lot to lose. And we've seen with other organizations that have either gone under or had to reduce the quality of their services, cut services, and we've been able to maintain.
And get better.
Yes, and get better. And we want to do a lot more because we have a lot more vision. We have a lot that we want to accomplish. So that's a big piece. I think we're gaining credibility, and SunPass is huge. People love the numbers. Oh, how many have you packaged over the course of the contract? And we're over 7.5 million.
Wow.
But our quality is so good. He has that number too.
0.005%. So
What
basically,
does that mean? Errors.
errors.
Okay.
Errors.
around,
Okay.
around 5 in every 100,000
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
that are not good
Do you know,
enough.
there are corporations out there who would hear that and go, poof,
How
how is he doing that? Your quality control is crazy. That's awesome.
But it has to be, because we have to change the perceptions of what we were and what the perceptions of nonprofits have been in the past.
Sure.
So we have to be better than
Exactly.
a for-profit in doing what we do. And then we can earn more business, which is what's starting to happen.
Did you, yes. So at first, when you were going with the SunPass contract, did you find it difficult to try to convince the state that you had the ability to do this?
It was easy by that point because we had to convince ourselves first
Okay.
because we really hadn't done any big projects. We had this gigantic celebration at 250,000 units. We packaged our 250,000th of something and we celebrated. We
Excellent.
had TV cameras, we
That's
dropped
awesome.
balloons from the ceiling, we had people from Tallahassee come down,
That's
Publix,
excellent.
everybody. 250,000. We didn't know we could do it. We thought we could do it. We convinced ourselves. But then once we convinced ourselves we could do it, we had to sell our leadership team. Then we had to sell the board. And by the time we got to DOT, it was kind of, yeah, we can do that. Because it was really hard to get to that point because I think the first step was the hardest. Just realizing we could do it.
Of the two of you, for a nonprofit who is looking at doing some kind of social enterprise, what would you recommend to them as the first course of action that they need to take in order to get there? Because I imagine that there's some folks going, see, you know what's easy? What's easy is you've done it, so it's easy to see how your mission and the business work together and the synergy between them. I think where the difficulty may be is to try to figure out, here's my mission, here's what I do, how do I get to that? So what was the thought process there? And I'm sure this one probably had something
I was
to
going
do
to
with
say,
it.
I think Pathfinders was when we really started honing in on vetting different ideas, different concepts, things we'd done in the past. Did we do it well? I mean, we kind of had to dig through some history, too. We used to do that. Why did we stop doing it? Did we make money at it? And start asking questions. But as we started drilling down, I think what you're finding is your core competencies. So you're finding things that fit well with what your skill sets are, but also the population you serve. You know, first step advice for anybody thinking about this, I'd say write a business plan. Do it like you would in any other business venture, because it's going to tell you if it's really feasible, do the numbers work, is the market out there, and approach it from a business perspective, as opposed to, you know, Cindy, I think it's a good idea. Don't you think we should do that?
Yeah.
You know, actually develop
Is
a
a
real
social
plan.
enterprise plan doable for every nonprofit?
I think it is. I think it is. If you actually do the market research, I would say the most time-consuming and most important is do market research. Of the different organizations I've gone through the training with me, is if they spent time on market research, it would save them. It would
lot.
answer a lot of questions.
Yes.
Okay.
Who's your customer? Who's your competition?
Right.
And what are your assets? I think as long as any nonprofit could develop any kind of multiple earned income businesses, if they have the right leadership, if the culture embraces, and they do their homework.
Excellent. Wow. And that's no small feat by any means, but yeah, you guys make it look easy, although you've spent years perfecting it. And, you know, congratulations, Tom, to what you've been able to accomplish with that. And congratulations, Judith, because
Thank you.
what you're doing is, it's phenomenal. And I really do think I'm seeing more and more of this too. And I know, Cindy, you've seen a lot of great examples as well. But the nonprofit community is starting to realize that you don't have to be one or the other. You can be both, and it can be synergistic, and it can work in going towards that, and it can ease your pain when you have cuts like you're talking about,
Yes.
right? So we're going to take another quick break, but when we come back, it's time for Truth or Care. So it's time to thank the Nonprofit Leadership Center of Tampa Bay for being our studio sponsor, and we'll be right back after this break.
And now a word from our studio sponsor.
Have you ever called or visited a company and received poor customer service? How did that make you feel? Hi, my name is Lorraine, and at the Nonprofit Leadership Center, we say good customer service is not good enough. It should be excellent customer service. Whether you're a nonprofit or a for-profit, excellence in customer service puts you ahead of all others. Some of the benefits include customer loyalty, customer confidence, satisfaction, increased results, sales, business, more referrals, savings of dollars, and even staff empowerment. Words are very powerful and can affect your conversation and your communication. Choose them carefully. Put yourself in your customer's shoes and think about how you like to be treated and talked to. And when you're on the phone, smile. It makes a difference because 86% of your message will come from the tone of your voice and only 14% from your words. Put a mirror next to your phone to remind yourself to smile, and then speak slowly and clearly. Avoid saying no to a customer. Instead say, "I'm not sure, but let me find someone to help you." Or, "May I call you back with an answer?" Finally, stay organized. Follow through with your promises to fix things and find answers and respond. Excellence in customer service is one topic covered in the classroom at Nonprofit Leadership Center. To learn more about our classroom training and our resources, visit our website at nonprofitleadershipcenter.com. Thank you.
The Philanthropy Show is on demand every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at both thephilanthropyshow.com and YouTube/WatchMVVP TV.
Welcome back. Third segment of the Philanthropy Show, and it's time. This is a fun little segment here where we get to find out even more about the personal aspect of our guests who come on. And this is time for Truth or Care, which is a time for sharing why you're involved with the nonprofit community. We've called it the definition of philanthropy, or it can be a personal experience, the motivation that you have behind being involved in the nonprofits that you work for and with. So I'm going to let the fickle finger fate pick unless somebody wants to just jump in and go first.
I'll go first.
Okay.
You were going to do that
pick you.
anyway. I knew you would. The reason I do what I do is, fortunately, my parents instilled philanthropy growing up. Always giving back, help people, and I have a blast. There's actually three items that I go through in my mind before I work with a client, and it's nonprofit, is I have to believe in their mission, I have to agree with their management style, and I got to have fun. So that's my philosophy.
I like it. That's nice. And you know, you're one of those people who you're so willing and ready to give all the time. And Cindy's been a bit of a mentor for me as well, so thank you for that. But
You're welcome.
I love the example that you lead with in our community and how you do give back and how you encourage, as Barbara Streisand said in Hello, Dolly, encouraging young things to grow. So that's kind of,
That was very good.
I love Barbara Streisand, so she's my fave. Anyway, Judith, let's hear your...
Well, I'm a little convoluted. Of course, when I
We knew that.
started, yes, okay, thinking about philanthropy and doing a little research on the definition and contrasting it with charity. And one of the definitions I read used the example that charity is giving man a fish, and philanthropy is teaching him how to fish, which made me think about when we're asking for support from the community, we've broadened the scope of what it is we're asking for, particularly like from businesses. When they come to you and they go, what can I do to help? I want to help your organization. I believe in your mission. That it's not just getting out your checkbook. That's fine, absolutely. We need funds as well. But if you have expertise, if you'll help us, if you'll mentor us, we have vendors that have taken on that not only do they supply components for SunPass, but they become mentors to us. That's so valuable because that leads to the success. Do you have employment opportunities, or do you know people that might? We're really looking at a much broader scope of what philanthropy is coming into the organization, because there's just so many different things that people can offer to us, and even other nonprofits, because we have other nonprofits that have provided us with advice, we've partnered together. It's huge what that means. So I think that's more my perspective on philanthropy.
I like that. And I just, I like the example that you gave in the teaching a man to fish versus giving a man a fish, and that you're everything about your model. You guys got to write a book. Seriously, about how it smooths together. But you can see that, what you just said, you can see it in this model too.
You have
the
to.
interconnectedness is what I'm trying to get with.
And honestly, Cindy taught us that. And I went back through our text the other day, and it was funny going back and going,
Yeah.
wow, it's been 9 years.
Oh my gosh.
And look at how the vision was so clear. It's taken us this long to get here, but it's really inspiring.
That's great. That's awesome. Tom,
I
truth or
knew
care?
I should have gone first. I knew it at the time. I kind of arrived at MacDonald Training Center by accident, like many of us. And if you talk to folks at MacDonald Training Center, they think, I'm going to be here for maybe 1 or 2 years, and I'm going to go find something different. But amazingly, we're all still there. I think it's about just feeling really good about what we do. I mean, I like what I do on a given day. I like that with our new services, the way we've upgraded it, and it's so much better, the success stories we're getting now from folks we work with. I mean, there's this one gentleman that we worked with in our advanced job skills. We were just, he came back, he'd been with the center a while back, he got a job, he lost a job, he came back, and we were just talking to him, and he had worked at Starbucks for 6 years. Well, why did you lose that job? Oh, no reason. Did you like that job? I hated it. Why did you hate it? And that was Judith who was asking these questions. It was too noisy. I don't like being around all those people. I hated it. We were flabbergasted, and he couldn't take it anymore, and he quit. But yet, he held that job for 6 years.
Wow.
But because of what we did in advanced job skills, we found him a job in an office where he doesn't have all of that stuff going on, and he's happy. And it just makes you feel good.
That's wonderful. Yeah, and even though you're doing this business end, you're still so connected with the mission
She
nonprofit
makes me.
end. That's great. I want to thank you guys for coming on
thank
the
you,
show.
Tom,
Thank
for
you so
having me.
much, Tom. and
Thank
Judith.
you.
Great
Pleasure.
to have you guys. Cindy, thank you. This was, yay, good example. And now aren't you motivated to go draw up your business plan and think through stuff? I am. Makes me want to start a couple more companies. Thank you guys for being
Oh,
on.
you're
Really
welcome.
appreciate it.
Thank
And
you.
that wraps it up for the Philanthropy Show for today. Be sure to join us next Monday at 4 for a brand new show. See you then.
Do you have an idea for the Philanthropy Show? Contact us via our website or email us at tps@myvideovoice.com.